I have to assume that you did because the FBI it reports to you. But the American people would look at the situation where this person is taking a $50,000 in cash, no less, and you testified today that a thorough investigation was done. Now, I have to assume, I conclude, that since no wrongdoing was determined, that in answer to Senator Whitehouse's question, he kept the money.
I have had no meetings or discussions about a fund.
So would you support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ, political people, about creating a fund, and you won't let us know what you think about that, that's pretty unbelievable.
What started as a routine oversight hearing quickly turned personal. Senator Mazie Hirono's sharp questions pierced through Pam Bondi's deflections, and when facts collided with evasion, the tension in the room spoke louder than words.
So it's very clear to me that when the president posts something like that he considers the DOJ to be his law firm and you his lawyer. And in fact, very shortly after the post to you, Comey gets indicted. Last year, President Trump's new border czar, now border czar, Tom Homan, was videotaped taking a bag with $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents after suggesting he could help with government contracts. Sounds like a bribe. 2 weeks ago, DOJ officials reportedly shut down the bribery investigation into Mr. Homan. Ms. Bondi, did you approve closing the Homan investigation, bribery investigation?
Just get rid of that. Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, the Department of Justice and the FBI conducted a thorough review, and they found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing. You were also on video outside the White House protesting with a group called CASA, where Antifa members were. Does that mean you're a member of Antifa?
You know, I simply asked the question as to whether or not you approve the shutting down of the investigation, Mr. Homan. I have to assume that you did because the FBI it reports to you. But the American people would look at the situation where this person is taking a $50,000 in cash, no less, and you testified today that a thorough investigation was done. Now, I have to assume, I conclude, that since no wrongdoing was determined, that in answer to Senator Whitehouse's question, he kept the money. He kept the money, and I hope that he put that on his tax returns as income. Next question. Over 1,200 rioters were convicted of charges related to January 6th. President Trump has since pardoned nearly all of them. As if that weren't enough, last month there were reports that a lawyer for the January 6th rioters met with senior DOJ officials about setting up a compensation fund like the one that Congress set up after 9/11 to compensate these rioters. Ms. Bondi, is anyone at DOJ considering setting up a compensation fund for January 6th rioters? Yes or no?
Senator, I have had no meetings or discussions about a fund.
So would you support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ, political people, about creating a fund, and you won't let us know what you think about that, that's pretty unbelievable. On January 30th of this year, the Trump DOJ's Antitrust Division sued to block the merger of two tech companies. Then, well-connected lobbyists met with your political deputies who overruled the career staff and approve the merger. So there's a settlement on that. And separately, DOJ sued Ticketmaster last year for monopolizing concert tickets and forcing consumers to pay outrageous fees. Ticketmaster has hired the exact same lobbyists who met with senior DOJ political people regarding the merger of the two tech companies. So my question is, Ms. Bondi, have lobbyists met with your political deputies about the Ticketmaster case?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, I am not going to discuss anything that is ongoing. Gail Slater runs the antitrust
I would
office,
say
and
that
Gail
that-
Slater, if I can finish, Gail Slater is doing an incredible job running my antitrust unit.
It's highly likely, Ms. Bondi, that the same lobbyists who met with your people basically got rid of the antitrust case.
Senator, I don't think
This session between Mazie Hirono and Pam Bondi was more than just a political debate. It was a microcosm of how the rule of law bends when loyalty trumps integrity. Hirono's questions strike to the heart of institutional trust. Whether the Justice Department, under Bondi's leadership, continues to operate independently or as an arm of the president. Did you approve closing a bribery investigation? Was one of her simple queries. Do you support a fund for January 6th rioters? Have lobbyists influenced DOJ cases? But Bondi's evasions made them seem radical. Each, I'm not going to discuss that, exposed a department that refuses to answer to the people it serves. The contrast is what made the exchange so compelling. Hirono's approach was calm, factual, and methodical. Bondi's reactions were defensive, confrontational, and sometimes personal. When confronted with proof of career, prosecutors being fired without cause, Bondi relied on anecdotes about employees throwing sandwiches and making obscene gestures. That was not accountability, it was distraction. Hirono's dissatisfaction was obvious because it mirrored something greater than politics, the decline of professional independence within America's justice system. When an attorney general is unable to adhere to even the most basic ethical norms, such as opposing political meddling or criticizing corruption, the message communicated to career public servants is terrible. It states that integrity is negotiable. Bondi's use of Antifa, failure to accept hundreds of DOJ departures, and rejection of oversight as grandstanding were not evidence of strength, but of an institution circling the wagons. Hirono's persistence, however, served as a reminder that democratic responsibility still exists, even in the face of resistance. In this hearing, the stakes were not abstract. They were discussing trust. Trust that the Department of Justice will enforce the law consistently, not selectively. Trust that investigations are based on evidence, not presidential tweets. Trust that public service still entails serving the people. By the end, Hirono didn't need to raise her voice to convey her message. Her composure was her strength. Her message was straightforward. The truth isn't partisan, but ignoring it always is.